Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you. Today on Ifkar al-Alam, or Thoughts of the World, we want to talk about how can we raise our entertainment game.
اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق خلق الإنسان من علق اقرأ وربك الأكرم الذي علم بالقلم علم الإنسان ما لم يعلم كلا إن الإنسان ليطغى.
Welcome back to another episode of Ifkar al-Alam, Thoughts of the World. I'm your host, Abu Imran, and today we want to talk about how we can raise our entertainment game. And what does that really mean? And so entertainment is a huge part of our lives as human beings, right? I mean, we may not do it often, or we may do it too often, but we live our lives and we work, and we have to have some source of entertainment. And so the source of entertainment, the style which we entertain ourselves, can vary from person to person, from culture to culture. And so different things, we may not all find the same things entertaining, depending on where we're at. And so, but let's talk about the way that we entertain ourselves in the U.S. versus alternative ways which can be healthier. And so when we look at one of the biggest sources of entertainment or things that is associated with entertainment in the United States is alcohol. And revenue associated with alcohol has hit about the $283 billion mark in 2023. So that's about how much money people actually spend on alcohol consumption in the United States. The market is expected to grow annually by 5.55%, which means that it's going to increase. And so it's not going anywhere. And we can see that in, advertisement, television advertisement, or sporting events. And so alcohol is a very big part of the culture in which we live in the United States. The market's largest segment is beer, with market revenue of about 120 billion, and so in 2023. So most Americans, or a lot of Americans, actually consume quite a bit of beer. And America spends about 5% of their monthly budget on entertainment in 2021. And that's adding up to about $297 per month on average. And so when we look at how did America spend their days in 2022, other than sleep, the only thing that Americans did more than work was engaging in leisure and sports. And so sports by themselves, of course, are not a bad thing. I mean, they encourage physical fitness and physical activity, which is a good thing. And the most popular leisure activity was watching television. Now, watching too much television can be a very bad thing, right? And so, because this can encourage sloth and bad habits and lack of mobility, and that can lead to other problems, especially when we get older. The average person spends nearly 3 hours a day doing it. And so, that is one of the biggest contributing factors of things that we do in entertainment. And also, besides drinking alcohol, when we look at the current situation in which people actually entertain themselves, oftentimes they're mixed environments, which means that the genders are mixed. There's male and females that are there together. And so, and also, besides drinking, some cases, not often, but some cases there may be drug use, maybe foul language, depending on how old the crowd is or how mature they are. And then for men, we know there's a lot of talk about women. And so, but also we come together for sporting events. And then in some cases, entertainment may involve gambling. And these are some very typical activities that we do to entertain ourselves. And so there's exceptions to this in some cases where individuals might just have outdoor activities where they do hiking or they do water related activities, boating, swimming, or something like this, surfing if they live in an environment or on the coast where they're able to do that. And so there's other things that maybe involve more physical activity, but for the large part, most American people that live inland, the things I mentioned previously are the things that are a very big part of entertainment. And so, what are the problems that can lead to that? So we know that with alcohol consumption, which is a very big part of American society, as we mentioned, this can lead to excessive drinking, which in turn leads to alcoholism. And so every person, there's no person who's immune to alcoholism. And so if a person drinks enough alcohol, they can eventually become an alcoholic. And so with that, there are some people who are functional alcoholics who can drink and still go to work on Monday morning, and they may drink just every now and then, just on the weekends, but they may drink excessively on the weekends. And there are some people that are dysfunctional alcoholics that are not able to function properly during the week without alcohol. And so clearly the benefits of alcohol are outweighed by the negative aspects that they bring to our lives. And so besides the fact that it's expensive, it's addictive, and with the addiction comes other problems, and problems with work, or problems with communicating with other members of your family or other people without the use of alcohol. And so there's a host of other things that alcohol can problems that can result from alcohol use. Also with the mixing of the genders, and a lot of people may not feel this is a big deal, but oftentimes in entertainment venues, when the sexes or the genders are mixed, then the combination of alcohol, and that can lead to other things where a person is mixing with a person that is going to be problematic. For example, maybe another person's wife or another person's husband, or this, that, and the other. And so with the use of alcohol, then the judgment is impaired, and people may make decisions that are not great decisions within this social environment. And so this is another thing to consider when we have a combination of those two things in a social setting. And so, and besides that, men are attracted to women, women are attracted to men in most cases. And so when we have social events like this, when, say, for a person brings their wives and their husbands to the same event, there's always a possibility that there can be some inappropriate discussions or looks that can come from that in these social events. And so there's a lot of harm that can come from situations like that. Also, gambling, similar to alcohol, in that it can be very addictive, and it can cause a lot of problems socially, besides the fact that it's a waste of money, and it can become very dangerous. If you're gambling with the wrong people, you could get into debt, and then they could charge interest for your debt, and to the point that you're unable to pay this, and you become a slave to that activity and trying to pay them back. And so there's a lot of, with gambling, there's definitely the bad outweighs the good when it comes to gambling. And so, and then, but also there's some good things that come from the natural way that people entertain themselves in our culture, and that like sporting activities can be very nice. And sometimes people, there's still that aspect of it, just enjoying the other person's company or your friend's company. And so there are many good things that can come from entertainment. And so from an Islamic standpoint, okay, we look at the fact that entertainment is not a bad thing, okay, but there are guidelines in which we entertain ourselves, and we do them according to what is pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so, of course, we mentioned that when the life of a Muslim is, our whole purpose is to worship Allah. And yes, we can entertain ourselves and still worship Allah. And so let's look at some of the Muslim entertainment standards. So the first objective, as we mentioned, is to do whatever we do for the sake of Allah. And so in Islam, we don't just have this concept of where we just pray all day long or anything like that. But when we meet and we meet for the sake of Allah, we meet for the good, then this can be a rewarding thing because we're doing this for the sake of Allah. We're maintaining our ties of kinship, or maintaining our ties for brotherhood or huwa, or for sisterhood, what have you. And so we're doing this for the sake of Allah. So we're meeting and we have this agreed upon culture of things that we're not going to do. So first of all, we talked about the mixing of the men and the women. And so Islamically, whenever we come together for entertainment, we separate the sexes, we separate the genders, so that men have their entertainment and the women have their own entertainment. And so the reason that this is so important is because in Islam, we don't deny that men have the desire for women, or that women have a natural desire for men. This is a nature in which Allah has given us, and it's a very natural thing, and it's not a sinful thing to have these desires for the person of the opposite sex. And so, but Islam is important that we we know that in Islam it is important for us not to just act on desires that whenever they happen, but we handle ourselves according to what Allah has told us what is appropriate for us, the best way to handle ourselves. And so if a woman is not related to us, or if a man is not related to us, then Islamically, we don't have any appropriate interaction with them in an entertainment sense. And so, and after a while, and this is something that may seem strange in the West, but after this is done a few times, then it becomes a very natural thing that men get used to hanging out with other men, and women get used to hanging out with other women. And so, and then there's no free mixing in the entertainment environment. It becomes, when there are non-relatives, we spoke about that in previous videos, but it becomes a very natural thing to just hang out with the bros and just do your thing, and not to do the haram or forbidden things that we talked about. For example, when we're mixing, of course, or when we're together, there's no free mixing. And also, there's no lewd discussion about women or, sex, or any inappropriate discussions about things. There can be discussions about things that are going on in the world today, or things happening in our family lives, or discussions about sporting activities, things like this. And so, or it could be discussions about aspects within the religion as well. And so these can be very entertaining, that when you're around other brothers that you enjoy their company. And so you can find joy in having these discussions about different topics. And so then also it encourages interpersonal skills, where we learn to communicate with our other brothers and articulate our thoughts and speak, and learn to speak nicely and kindly towards each other. So this is good practice on developing these interpersonal skills with one another. And then also, there's no drugs or no alcohol in these settings. So of course, then we don't have to worry about, if you drink too much, then you have to get a designated driver. Or if you're not sure about this, then since the brothers aren't drinking and the sisters aren't drinking any alcohol, that they're drinking only the halal, or the beautiful things that Allah has allowed us to drink, and so, or to eat, then we can drink and discuss, and eat and discuss, and spend time with one another and enjoy each other's company. And in fact, I can say for me that when I have these entertainment venues with other brothers, they're very, very enjoyable. We can sit and talk and enjoy each other's company and so forth. But then also, there could be sporting events that we may watch together, and this is completely lawful for us. And so we may watch a basketball game or watch a football game and talk about it and joke about it and so forth. And again, with no alcohol present at the situation, but we're just enjoying each other's company, and it can be a very enjoyable thing. And then also with the foul language. And so this is something that we work towards communicating with one another appropriately and saying nice things to each other and speaking in a manner which is pleasing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so this is something that may take time, because if a person has grown up in a situation where they're used to using foul language and speaking ill to one another, it may take time for them to get used to coming to social gatherings or social situations and speaking appropriately or Islamically towards one another. And so this is a cultural change. Islam is a culture within itself. Islam, the rules and the etiquettes within Islam are a cultural thing. And so the rules that may apply for a Muslim in the United States will be similar to the rules that would apply to Muslims in any other country. And so, like the foul language and speaking nice to our brothers and saying kind things to them, and not joking in a way that is distasteful to the brother, or saying things to him or her that would hurt their feelings. And so we stay away from that. And so, and we this is a something that a person has to learn how to do over time. And then, so besides eating and drinking what is halal or lawful, then you say that which is halal, if that's lawful for us to say. And so we can also talk about history. I did not mention that previously, but we can talk about historical events and discuss, our perspective on what may have happened or the reasons behind things happening, in a historical standpoint and so forth. These can be very interesting discussions, and they encourage us to think and to ponder over different topics. Because when we come together and we talk about lawful and halal things, then also this can be a very stimulating process. And in some cases, again, there's nothing wrong with brothers actually participating in sporting activities. And so besides watching a basketball game, the brothers may decide that, well, every Friday evening they want to go out and bowl, or they want to play basketball, or they want to play football, or they want to do some other type of sporting activities, play handball or play racquetball or something else, or they want to ride go-karts, or they want to ride bicycles, or if they're in a desert, perhaps they want to get on four-wheelers and have fun that way, or get on four-wheel drive vehicles and do the thing out in the desert. Or they may want to go swimming, or they may want to fly kites, or whatever, or they just want to go to a restaurant and be together and hang out and eat food, or they want to go to some place where they, eat ice cream together and talk. And so there's many things that we can do to entertain ourselves that don't involve some of the haram or forbidden things that we had spoken about. And so what I found is that in these gatherings, when we participate in these type of behaviors, that you find they're a lot more enjoyable for everyone else. And so in that, the brothers really long to participate in these type of outings again in the future, because they can be so fulfilling to spend that quality time with brothers and meeting new brothers, or for sisters hanging out and getting to know each other and getting to know new people. And so, and these can be very fruitful times. And then also what these do is that these type of interactions with each other begin to clear up the mind and to free our thinking from the evil things that we probably participated in normally in society. Because unfortunately, in our everyday interactions with one another, we may do a lot of things that are very harmful towards our relationships towards one another. We may, for example, be very unmindful of the foul language we use at work towards one another, or the evil thoughts we may have towards other people in the office. And so, and then these type of things can weigh on our soul and just make us miserable because we have so many ill thoughts in our lives or in our mind. And so when we learn to have these healthier interactions, they clear up our mind. And then also what it does is that it can help lead us into our khushu or our consciousness whenever our awareness when we're making our prayers to the Creator. And so it can clear up our minds and free us from all these type of evil thoughts or whatever that we may be accustomed to normally participating in Western society or non-Muslim societies. Okay, and then also what this does is that when we get into this habit, then this will also transfer to our relationships with our families, is that we can learn to have small talk, healthy small talk with our families, with our spouses, and with our children and so forth, because this is very important as well. And so, and this is also entertaining because we may, besides going out with our friends, we may stay home and have some entertainment time with our families. And so we may play games together as a family, or we may sit at the dinner table and discuss things as a family. And so, and then this will encourage our children to articulate the things that are going on in their lives as well, and to talk about the things that may be bothering them or the things that they're excited about or what's going on in school and so forth and so on. And so we have this, when we can encourage this interaction, it's healthy for the entire community. And then besides the things we mentioned about entertainment, some people may have like trivia. And sometimes it could be Islamic trivia where they come together and they talk about Islamic trivia, maybe have some type of prizes for or teams for the ones who win, or like some innocent punishments or whatever, like I've seen on some videos where some young brothers were having trivia, Islamic trivia, and then if the person got the wrong answer, they hit him in the head with the pillow or something like this. And so these are, for younger people, this is can be a very delightful way in which they interact with each other and get to know each other, and also improving the knowledge and build beneficial knowledge, beneficial knowledge that when it comes to the religion. And so these are things, when it comes to Islamic trivia, learning about the history of different aspects of Islam, or maybe some concepts within Islam. And so these are very beneficial. And so these are some Islamic alternatives to entertainment versus the non-Islamic practices. And so we hope that this has been some benefit to you. And thank you again for watching this episode of Thoughts of the World.